Hello and welcome back to the channel. Right, it's just me and Panda on the show today. Legal's probably asleep because we're doing this in irregular time. It's now my morning and Panda's evening, so usually it's the other way around. So probably in America right now it's probably, I don't know, probably about 4 in the morning, I guess. So possibly. I'm not sure whereabouts in America it is. So it's just going to be us two just waffling today. This is Red Panda. Red Panda, where you got your channel up now and you've got your Twitter. Do you want to sort of chuck them out quickly before we get on with this?
Yes, you can find me on YouTube at Red Dead Panda Gaming, and you can also find me on Twitter at Red Dead Panda. Yeah, hit me up, comment, like, subscribe. I'd love to engage with you guys, so feel free. And thanks for having me, Elite.
That's all right. No, thanks for having me. So let's get on to this. So our first topic is going to be The Last of Us 2. So many of you are aware The Last of Us 2 has now released and it's got a 95 Metascore. Now, though that in itself is very interesting, because for one, I don't rate Metacritic. It's a very biased reviewing system, which it's already been exposed that they do cut out a lot of scores that are negative or give low scoring. They chop those and they sort of pick and choose what scores they like. In addition to PS4 games getting about twice the amount of reviews as other formats like Xbox and PC, which then bumps up their scoring. Plus, you've got sort of a lot of Sony review sites that score their games and give it 10 out of 10 from the get-go. And then you've got people like IGN that say this game's not perfect, but score it 10 out of 10. So, regardless of all that nonsense, I don't know if you've got anything to say about Metacritic. What's your view on Metacritic, Panda?
I think it's you can either generally take it as a somewhat of a guide and go it's possibly accurate, but for the majority of it, don't believe it. Honestly, just if there's a game you're interested in, look into it yourself, make your own judgments, and then if you want to spend your money, do so. These reviewers aren't necessarily looking out and thinking as the gamer point of view. Some of them are thinking of it as brand loyalty, like they prefer PlayStation games or they prefer Xbox games, so they will hype up certain games and they won't necessarily give them a fair shake. So I make my own decisions.
They're not necessarily gamers either. I thought these journalists are not gamers. They're just journalists.
Like that Cuphead gamer.
Yeah,
Can
exactly.
never get through the tutorial.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are not even gamers. So, and they're reviewing games that they don't. And as we know before now, some of them have even copied YouTubers' reviews. They've not even played the game themselves. They've just copy pasted. Who was it who got caught out of that a while back, didn't they? Yeah. So
Yes,
just
they
copy pasted YouTubers things, which is. The whole system's flawed. It is a flawed system. But
when they're saying that Neil Druckmann, creative director for Last of Us 2, put up on Twitter about how many user scores they've got up on there, like what was it, 18,000? How much were you saying it's up to now?
It's up to, I see it got in front of me, it's up to 37,000 now. So that was yesterday, it was on 18,000, now it's 37,000.
He conveniently left out what the score is, though, right?
Yes. He just hyped up on Twitter how many people were reviewing the game. But he didn't actually say that they're downscoring it.
So you said the score was 3.6, a user Metacritic.
Yeah, so as got in front of my screen now, 3.6, yeah.
That's up from 3.4, so I guess it has somewhat improved.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually really concerned about this game. I think people are really pissed off, and it's only just come out, so I think we're going to hear more and more and more about how disappointed people are in The Last of Us 2, because I feel like the story of what they've done with that game, they just basically were going for shock value. They destroyed a lot of their characters, and I feel like people weren't prepared. Like, there were all those rumors around and all those leaks, and the people who like PlayStation fans who specifically went out and made sure that they didn't get or didn't read any spoilers or anything like that. They have gone in and played that game and they have been left shocked. I mean, you and I were
Yeah,
talking before about PewDiePie and how he avoided all of those spoilers, and then when he played it, he got up
yeah,
to the scene where 2 hours in, um, that horrible scene happens with the golf club, and he
yeah,
basically couldn't play the game anymore. Yes, he's probably continued to play it, but he was left quite struck by the
yeah.
shock value. And that's what I feel like they were going for. It wasn't really storytelling. Like, I watched the story of The Last of Us 2, and I was like, this is just blatantly bad storytelling. They introduce a character, Abby, from the get-go,
Mm.
and
You
you
played
have
the first
no
one?
idea who they are. No, I haven't played the first one, but
No, I
I've
didn't play the first
watched
one either now.
playthroughs of that. I've
Yeah.
never owned a PlayStation, so I was actually looking forward to playing The Last of Us 1 on a PS5, and then going to play The Last of Us 2. But I really don't want to play The
No.
Last of Us 2.
Not now you see where the story's going. Yeah.
No, I was so disappointed with this where the story went and
Yeah.
finished on. Um, I don't know what they
Because
did.
a lot of people saying it's been review bombed by Xbox gamers. For one, I don't believe that at all. Because why have they not review bombed every PS4 game? Like every Xbox game gets review bombed by PS4 gamers, but Xbox gamers generally have not review bombed. I mean, God of War didn't get it, Spider-Man didn't get it. Or you can go through a whole list of their games. They generally don't get. They usually get higher user scores as well as Metacritic game scores. This is actually getting, as the guy showed. I think, let me look at my thingy. I've got the guy's name here. He's the one that's doing a lot of videos on it. He's got 250,000 subs, so he's not like nobody. Geeks and Gamers is the channel he runs, and he's doing a lot of pressing it. He himself was doing a review on it, and Sony, because it was negative, Sony blocked him and banned him and deleted his had his thingy deleted off YouTube.
Yep.
So he's now furious with Sony.
And
And
Naughty Dog, yeah, I heard him
and
have
Naughty
his
Dog,
rant about
yeah.
Naughty
So
Dog.
so he's done a video on Naughty Dog and Sony. They obviously banning his negative review on it, but he's not. He said he's not the only case. They've actually blocked and deleted several negative reviews of this game, and they literally have pick and chosen um, their reviews. In addition, they're only letting review people's review the certain parts of the game, not all of it. Which I think,
Well, you
as the
saw
game leads,
the
which is a very odd thing to do, which I think as it leads on, that's towards the end. That's what I think. That's where a lot of people really disliking the game, but they're not
it felt
letting
like
reviewers cover that in their reviews.
it felt like a lot of the reviews actually had like gag orders in that sense, like they couldn't actually talk
Yeah,
about certain aspects of the game,
yeah, which is weird.
specifically advised not to do so. I guess they were
Yeah,
worried about spoilers, but it doesn't
yeah,
really
but every
matter.
game has spoilers, surely.
Yeah, I think
Red
with
Dead Redemption 2 didn't have a spoiler on the ending to it.
yeah, I
We could
think
go through
with
all games. Or Last of Us 1 didn't have. We could go through all games. All games at some point probably will have a spoiler in it or some sort of thing in it, like God of War. But there's no. Sony never put a sort of limit on what you can review and what you can watch and whatever. It's ridiculous.
yeah, well, I think reviewers are smart enough to basically go, this has spoilers in it, or this doesn't have
Yeah,
spoilers in it. They're not idiots. I
yeah,
don't think Xbox fans or Xbox fanboys, I guess, because they're next level,
yeah.
would need to even turn around and review bomb this game.
I don't
They,
need to. No. No.
Naughty Dog's done it themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Bad
I think.
practices with the way they treat their own employees, to the
Yeah.
point where a game gets mysteriously leaked by obviously disgruntled employees, even though Sony's
Yes, they
saying it's not.
tried to claim it was hacked, but then it happened again about 2 weeks later. So they are trying to tell us now that people that hacked it the first time hacked it a second time and released it again. Come on.
I feel generally, I'm not sorry for Naughty Dog. I feel generally sorry for the Sony fans. They
Yeah,
are they have been mistreated in this regard. This was like
yeah,
when, because I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. This was like when Mass Effect 3 came out, and the ending
yeah,
of Mass Effect 3 was rubbish. And then they
yeah.
patched it to make it better
Mm,
because they had such backlash from their fan base that
yeah,
they had to do something. And this was a beloved franchise, third game
yeah,
in, so you knew
yeah,
people were really peeved. the same thing is happening with this. This game had a really good fan base. People loved the characters, loved the storytelling. Yes, it was very brutal, and this game is also very brutal. But it felt like they just didn't care about the characters so much. They
Yeah,
just didn't care about their fan base. They were just like, "Hey, shock value. That's what people are after. That's what people like." No, they don't want to. They don't like that. Not
yeah.
unless you give them a reason to explain shock value.
Mm.
And they
The thing
just
I've got a sort of I'm on Metacritic. It brings up a little trailer for the game. The thing I've never realised about the game is how much QTE sort of it's got. How many QTEs are in the game? A lot of the combat's
What
just
do you mean?
QTEs. I've realised. The quick time events. A lot of it's quick time events. A lot of the
I
combat and
thought
it's quick time events.
from what I watched of the combat, it was like in order to attack the whatever, if you actually were in open combat, you had to do dodging and then you could go on and attack. So
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. Like some of it, the game is
Yeah.
absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah.
Stunning for
Yeah.
being
You can't fault the
combat.
graphics. Yeah.
You can't fault the graphics. You can't fault the job there. But whoever decided to go down this blatant revenge storyline and
Yeah.
then re-revenge storyline, they
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Revenge.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just
All in
feel
all, the
sorry for those people who spent all that money and were like
yeah.
so much. Like you saw in all the comment sections, every single Sony fan
Yeah.
and Sony pony, because
And they're
those
not
are the
Xbox
zealots in
people.
that world,
Yeah.
they're not. They were absolutely outright touting, cheerleading that game,
Yeah.
and now they can't because they feel
Yeah.
like they've been let down.
Yeah.
And I
Um.
agree, they have been let down. So there's no point
Yeah.
Xbox
And
going and shoving it in
as
their faces.
as many
Um,
people are saying, it's not Xbox players. These are the gamers speaking their minds now. That's what user score is. That's gamers speaking their minds now, and they're doing it across like this guy. She's got 250 subs. Uh, he's not on either side. He doesn't really talk about consoles himself. He just plays games. He's Geeks and Gamers. His channel is, and he literally just talks about games. So a lot of the people on these things don't care about console wars, and a lot of them are PS4 fans, and they're saying they've played it and they hate it. They dislike it, and they're all expressing their opinions how much they hate the game, and saying why the first one was better. They're saying the graphics are incredible, blah blah blah. But the story in this is remember these games are basically based on story. The gameplay is never great on them. AI in the past one was very uh, shoddy, what I've seen.
something
But
to be
the
desired.
whole game was based on narrative and storytelling, and it's lost that now. It's just gone weird. Apparently, the story's not great. The story's awful. It's all over the place. People are just confused playing it.
Yes.
It's just
And
really
for
lack.
Naughty Dog to realise what they've done, and they're going to have to go back and get their fans back on
Yeah,
side, is going to be really hard because this
yeah,
is going to take a very big hit to that whole Sony has amazing exclusives because
yeah.
people will be feel let down, and
Oh, this will
because
still
of
be.
that,
Yeah, they will still
because
show
of
off the
that,
95%, 95 score.
oh, they'll still tout that, no problem.
Yeah,
I've got no issue with that. I understand why the review scored that high, but I also understand why the user, actual people who are everyday like you and myself, why that has scored so low.
yeah,
Um, but it also makes people second guess if that's what they've done with this game.
yeah,
What is Ghost of Tsushima going to be like? I don't think they're going to be
yeah,
anything the same. I don't think you can compare them in any way whatsoever.
yeah,
But some people will feel let down with this big pillar of a game
yeah,
and go, do I want to invest my time in this other game because I've been so let down by this one?
yeah.
And
Just remember
I think
this.
they will. I think they will. I
Yeah,
think they'll go into that because they'll be like, I want something to pick me up. I want a better game. I was really disappointed in this. Let's see what the next one is. So hopefully that's the mentality that they have moving forward.
this is just reminding me. Actually, look at this number of players. It says it's got no online multiplayer, which the first game had. It had a very popular online multiplayer. They even tore out the multiplayer of the game.
Well,
So
they said that they were going to do it separately
yeah, that won't
and
be
probably
coming.
charge it as a standalone.
Or
No,
yeah,
they won't be doing.
this
They won't
or
be doing
this
multiplayer after this.
no, or it possibly will on the PS5. They probably resell the game, remastered version with multiplayer, and with probably different ending. That's probably what I'll do to make more money. But so did it score higher than the first one? I can't recall what the first one scores. Was the first one 92?
I
93?
can't remember what the first one was.
Nor can I.
Can't remember.
I can't. So I think even if it scored higher than the first one, then that is shocking. That does show. But I'm just glad it didn't score as high as Red Dead Redemption, because looking at it, it doesn't look anywhere near
It doesn't
like when they're
deserve
riding the horses.
a score like that.
No. When you're riding the horse in Red Dead Redemption, it's so much better than what I can see on here riding the horses on this. This looks like you're just riding a horse through a sort of a background.
Yeah, and I think what
There's
other
no
people are not
interaction.
happy. Yeah, I think what other people are not happy with in this game is playing as Abby for like 40%. Like it's back and
Yeah.
forth, back and forth. They
Which
didn't care about Abby. Even
no.
with the cutscenes explaining why Abby did what she did, there wasn't that buy-in because at that point they already hate her guts.
Well, let's just take a rewind back here for the console generation, and let's just review Halo 5. The hate that got. Now, why did that get hate? It's because you played as Locke. And people weren't understanding. They said, I hate the character. I don't get him. He's dull. He's boring. We don't want to play him. We want to play Master Chief. And it got so much hate because you could switch between the two. Now let's forward onto this game. Now this is getting praised for exactly the same reason. Let's now go back to Gears 4, where you played Thingy. That got hate for exactly the same reason. Where you're playing his son. Yeah, well, Kate as well. That's Gears 5, isn't it? You're playing Kate, and the other one was Gears Son. Everyone wanted to play. Can't remember his name now.
I can't think of his name. Something Fade.
It's just Fade. Yeah, I can't just Fade. Anyway, everyone wanted to play the main guy. I can't remember. It's weird. Yeah, but because you weren't playing him, it got hate and it got downscored by the journalists and stuff. Oh, why you? This is getting upscored because it's been apparently original and sort of clever that you can switch. This has been done by Xbox all generation. They got hate for exactly the same thing, for an unpopular character that you just didn't want to see succeed. And this is exactly the same. I just don't get it.
Well, what I'm curious about, and I'm very curious about this, is so with The Last of Us 1, they had that really cool DLC which gave you a bit more backstory behind Ellie. So you found out how she actually got bit when she was 14, and you follow along that little story there. And that was actually really cool, and that was really good storytelling.
Yeah.
What I'm now wondering is, what are they going to do? Because Naughty Dog would be dumb if they didn't do a DLC. What are they going to do with a DLC with this? Are they going to do one where they go back in time to show something else? Or are they going to do a what happens next type to kind of close it off? Because people have a lot of unanswered questions at the moment. They were like, there are some aspects of the story that weren't tied up because Naughty Dog was saying that they don't want to do another Last of Us. Well, if you don't do another Last of Us, why don't you tidy it up and give the fans what they want?
I heard, I'd have to do another video on it. I heard that I read actually, they didn't want to make this game. They didn't want to do a Last of Us. They wanted to end it at The Last of Us 1, and it's Sony pushed them to make a Last of Us 2. Yeah.
Maybe they.
Same as Uncharted. They wanted to end Uncharted as well, but Sony keeps pushing them to do these extra ones.
Or they should have waited until they got a story that was really, really good before they even went down the road of going Last of Us 2.
Actually, yeah, they could have skipped it an entire generation and brought it out for PS6 or right at the end of the PS5.
Mid-gen PS5 game.
And made her older. Made her older, Figgy much more. Made her older and Joel older. Would have been more interesting.
They wouldn't have even they could have even just done the same time as now, but just a better story.
Yeah, better story.
I mean, there were some story aspects that I really did like in that. Like, I liked the relationship between Dina and Ellie. That was really well done.
Yeah. Not Debbie.
No, Debbie. But do you know what I really didn't like in regards to the character modelling?
Yeah.
The way the women were drawn so, like, masculine?
Yeah, that's what's
yes,
PewDiePie said, didn't he?
You can be muscly,
they're well buff.
But there was a different level, like, it was just next level, like, I'm kind of creeped out about how masculine all of these women are drawn. Yeah. Some of them looked like women, others looked like, I don't know, the Hulk. She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was next level.
Yeah. Do you think this is where the woke aspects come into it? Because apparently they went to that lady who wanted to make it a bit more. Do you think it's that input they've gone too far the other way now?
No,
By
I don't
thinking,
think
well,
so.
we'll just kill off Joel, because that's what it's getting. It's getting a lot of. This is a woke game.
If they wanted to kill
just
off
get rid of
Joel,
and make all the leading points female and just basically and then buff up the women. Do you think that's?
I don't know. I don't know why they did with the art style, but do you know what would have been way more interesting? Would have been another reason to have Joel and Ellie on a story, and then maybe several hours into the game, or whatever it is, Joel sacrifices himself to save Ellie.
Yeah.
That
I reckon it would be best.
Been way more impactful, and people would
better
have
side,
respected that.
Yeah.
And to take away his
Yeah, a better thing would have been, I think, if they had Joel and Ellie actually have a difference of opinion on something, so they sort of separate ways, and then she goes off with Debbie, and then he goes off and goes on his own. But then something comes up where he comes back for her.
Are you confused between Dina and Debbie?
No, it's what PewDiePie called her Debbie all the way through the game, didn't he?
Yeah, that's true. What I think they probably could have done was, yes, they could have done that, or what would have been interesting, because the way they did the trailer seemed like what it felt like to me was when I first saw that trailer and you see Ellie screaming, going, "Don't, please don't." I thought they actually had her girlfriend, and they were going to do something like, sounds horrible, they were going to do like a rape storyline or some other storyline that was going to be really controversial, and I was going to be like, oh, they've kidnapped her, or the girlfriend's died, and that explains Ellie going on this tirade, and maybe involving Joel in this tirade as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be a very compelling story, and that would be quite shock value in regards to they're actually touching on something that's relevant in relation to like Me Too and all of that. That would have been more woke than whatever they did in the storyline.
Yeah. That's. I mean, there's lots of ways they could have done about it. This story does look very bland. It's like watching a Jason Statham movie.
It's just like, for example, I used to be a big fan of The 100. Loved the show The 100, and they killed off one of my favourite characters on that show, Lexa. Absolutely loved her to bits. And it was killed off for shock value, and then they brought her back for a little bit in one of the final episodes, and as soon as she came back, and it was like, damn, this is what the show's been missing. And that's what I feel like they've done with this. They killed someone off, and it's like, this is what their game is missing. This cornerstone piece of this relationship between these two characters is gone now, and it felt very hollow.
But this guy from Geeks and Games is basically comparing it to the last episode of Game of Thrones. So
everyone is.
Yeah.
I've listened to so many reviews. Everyone's like, it's Game of Thrones season 8 all over again.
Yeah.
Yep, and they're comparing it to the most recent Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly that as well. But at the end of the day, Sony's like, yeah, whatever, we've got your money. That's all that matters at the end of the day. It's like, that's what I said, it reminds me of a bad sequel. You know, you get these films that are really good, then you get a sequel that is clearly just to milk the first game. Because the first movie is so popular, so they make a sequel, which you didn't need to do. They do it anyway, and it's absolute nonsense. But they've already got your money because you've gone to the cinema to watch it. it's just like that. It's just that.
I wonder how bad the fan reaction would be if there were no leaks. Imagine if there were no leaks, and then everyone was playing it firsthand.
Yeah.
I think they would have. It would be even worse now if that was the case and there were no leaks.
And nobody knew it was coming. Yeah.
Yep.
It'd been awful.
Because I watched many different people's playthrough, and they're like, why am I playing as this character? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then bam, there's a shock value, and they're like, okay, that bit's over. And then they'll go through and play the next bit, and they're like, oh, it's a good game, but you could hear them going, they're like trying to convince themselves that it's worth the Metacritic score that it got.
Yeah, they're talking themselves into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the graphics. That seems to be the go-to argument if you say anything to any of them. It's like, yeah, but this, but the graphics. It's like, yeah, but what about this, but the graphics. It's
if
like,
they want to talk about the graphics,
Yeah.
Why are they always going, it's not about the power of the console, it's
I
about the
know.
games.
Yeah.
Don't talk about the graphics. Yes, it's a pretty game, but at the end of the day, you're not playing that game because it's pretty. You're playing that game because you have an expectation about the storyline and what you know Naughty Dog can
That,
do,
that's
and they
that's
did not live
exactly
up to that.
that's exactly why it won Game of the Year. One game of the year, the first one, because of the narrative and the story. It probably will win Game of the Year this year
I don't think
because,
so.
oh,
I really don't
or
think
it
so.
will because Jeff
No,
Keighley's in charge of Game of the Year, so
do-
it's won already.
doesn't matter. I don't want to get
Jeff,
Cyberpunk 2077.
remember
That's
Jeff
more
Keighley?
likely to win.
Jeff Keighley, who runs the Game of the Year awards, also was the one that promoted on Twitter and interviewed during the PS5 um, Epic demo. If you've
Yeah,
ever
but
seen
he's
one
got a.
there.
I know,
Also,
that's
he's the
fine.
one that shows up in anything
He's got a.
Sony. He turns up in.
But he's
So
got a hard on for Kojima,
he
right?
has
Kojima
massively,
didn't
yeah.
win Game of the Year
But
last
it
year.
got
Well,
no, but it got in the top
made it
five,
into
which it
that.
shouldn't have done. Yeah, it shouldn't have
I
done.
it shouldn't have done. So I
It
still
scored 10
think,
points lower than Gears of 5. Gears 5 didn't even get a nomination.
yeah, I think it's going to be a contender for Game of the Year, but I don't think it's going to win.
Ooh, yeah, let's see. Well, it's going to
I
compete
would be
against.
surprised.
Yeah, it's what it competes against, though. What else have we got? I suppose we've
We've
got.
got what?
Well, Halo
Cyberpunk
Infinite be out by then.
2077, Halo,
That's it. That's been delayed now, isn't it?
Ori 2 came out.
Yeah, that one. None
That's
of
been
them get.
delayed.
I don't think any of them get.
Cyberpunk,
Yeah, Cyberpunk's been delayed again.
probably till November, I reckon. I reckon it's
Yeah,
I reckon it's been delayed to
which
the console launch.
yeah, but that's my point. I think the November's just after the date of the Game of the Year's
No,
awards.
Game of the
The
Year's in
nominations would have to
December.
be in. Yeah, but the nominations have to
Oh
be in at a
yeah.
certain time, don't they? Which I think there's a cut-off point. That's why I remember last year Star Wars didn't get nominated because it missed the cut-off point.
Oh, Star Wars could be
But there'd be
involved
Star
then.
Wars. But the problem is with those type of games is that by then that game's a year old and everyone's forgot about it. That's the problem with the games right at the end of the year. So, but
You say
yeah,
that, and you look at Nintendo games, they have a
yeah,
history of no matter when they release, Game of the Year.
yeah. But that's gonna be. I mean, off the top of the head, it depends if Halo Infinite comes out. But if that could be counted. So there'd be Halo Infinite, Cyberpunk, Star Wars. What else is there? Possibly The Last of Us then, and
It could be an Ori in
possibly
there, you never know.
Ori 2. Yeah, it would be nice, but I don't reckon that'd get a nomination either for whatever reason. Um, should we move on to the next subject?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, the next subject is many games from PS5 reveal may be targeting 30 FPS, says Digital Foundry. So, what's your take on this? Has Digital Foundry now talk nonsense now, having sort of promoted Sony all generation? Are they now don't know what they're talking about?
I think they've been projecting for most parts. Like when they probably had when I first watched through the presentation, I think heavily biased to some degree because we all know they like Sony or PlayStation. They have started to take back It's either starting to lean into some of what Xbox is doing now, which is good. But I think when they had a presentation, they started going through it and going, oh, this is a 30 FPS game, this is a 30 FPS game, this is a 30 FPS game, and then a trend started to emerge, and they were like, what's happening to this really fast SSD, this CPU, these teraflops? Why is it not lining up with the narrative that both Xbox and Sony or PlayStation have been pushing, saying we want 60 FPS games? I mean, guaranteed this is Sony PlayStation's one, so we've had a look at consistently 30 FPS for all the games that showed. Not all the games, obviously. There were some coming through at 60 FPS, but that was more like the exception rather than the rule. And I think me, as a gamer, personally, I'd rather have 60 over 30. I,
Yeah,
I guess I understand that sometimes, and this is something that's been coming through, is like, it's up to the developers. Yes, it's up to the developers, but games play better when you have 60 FPS. There's that
yeah,
less input lag. There's all sorts available there. I mean, if you want to go 30 because you want your game to look cinematically beautiful,
yeah,
cool, do that. But give people the option to go, F graphics, I want better smooth frames, I want a performance mode.
Yeah. One viewpoint that ScreenRant, I think I read it out earlier, ScreenRant is saying, um, which is they're claiming is what devs are saying, is that the reason that they're hitting 30 FPS on the PS5 is because they want 4K native and they want the games to look the best they can. To me, that's a really, really poor excuse because, well, firstly, we know the Xbox X was hitting 4K native and 60 FPS as well as 30 FPS. Now, this generation of consoles are far better than the next generation consoles are far better than this generation of consoles. I can't see why the PS5 cannot hit 60 FPS at 4K when the Xbox X was doing it. I
Why
can't.
don't they just be honest, these devs, and go, these games were designed on
Yeah,
like the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, they were designed for those. The engines
yeah,
aren't next gen engines yet. They're not designed to go 60. So if we wanted to go 60, we would need to spend more time optimizing. They have that
yeah,
ability, they have that wiggle room with the power behind the PS5. Just admit that it's going to be more of a struggle to go to 60. They need more time to get used to the console, to figure out how to deal with the variable frequencies. Just say that maybe at the beginning of the generation they're going to be more 30 FPS, and the reason why this game's 30 FPS is because of such and such reason.
yeah,
However, we are wanting to do a performance mode, which is what Assassin's Creed Valhalla said, where they said it's going to be a minimum of 30. They are looking at making a 60 frames
yeah.
per second mode.
Everyone's jumping on the
That
30 FPS, but they said that's a minimum.
that's the
Everyone's cutting out the
minimum.
word minimum. Yeah, everyone's easily cutting out the
And
word
that's going to be
minimum.
the minimum for the PS5 too. Everyone jumped on the
Yeah,
Xbox Series X saying 60 FPS, but this game's 30. That's minimum. What do you think the PlayStation's going to do?
yeah. But I think the main standing point of this is that Valhalla is a third-party game. These games that are hitting 30 FPS are first-party Sony titles, which generally the first-party studios should be hitting the maximum. They should have they should know their consoles because they're first-party. Usually, all first-party games run better than third-party games, but these are first-party Sony studios that are hitting 30 FPS. So they're not even getting the best out of the PS5 console. Which
I
at the
I
which the
think
argument was, I just gonna say the argument was a lot of people were saying is devs apparently claiming that PS5's easier to work with. If it's PS5's easier to work with, why are we not seeing 60 FPS games? I'm
well this
confused.
this this is my thoughts. A purely speculation here is I think Sony shot themselves in the foot, or PlayStation
Yeah,
shot themselves in the foot by saying we believe in generations. When
yeah,
they said any game that is designed for the PS5 is only going to be playable on the PS5. The reason why I think that they shot themselves in the foot is there are virtually no games at the beginning of this generation that
no,
are designed solely for the PS5. They are being held back by current gen systems.
yeah, yeah,
So you're gonna see these 30 FPS games coming through. There are gonna be some 60, but it's gonna be majority of 30 until games are completely designed for the PS5 from the ground up. That's when you're gonna see a game that's 60 FPS. But the reason why I say they shot themselves in the foot is those games that are solely designed for the PS5 are not going to be available day one.
yeah.
They are going to
So
be coming out a year to 2 years to 3 years after the release of that console. To say
yeah,
that they are going to have these games solely available at launch, blah blah blah, people bought into that fact. Xbox was transparent and said there will be games,
mm,
we will be making games that is cross-gen. Because they
yeah,
knew that you just can't cut it off and immediately make these games for one system only. There needs to be a bit of grey area while the devs learn to utilize the full power of the systems. But during that period, you just can't go cold turkey on games.
yeah. So let me just say the 30 FPS games that Digital Foundry have confirmed are Ratchet and Clank, A Rift Apart, which is, I mean, that should be 60 FPS. Look at it, it's a shooter. That should be
The
60 FPS,
devs,
not 30
the
FPS.
de- yeah, the devs went out and said we want it
Insomniac
30.
said, yeah, Insomniac said we want to do something, which is awful for a shooter of that style to be 30 FPS. That's just, you don't have shooters at 30 FPS. I'm sorry.
They need to
Stray,
do a
that
performance
cat
mode.
game, which I can understand the cat game being 30 FPS because the game doesn't really jolt about. It's fairly slow going. I understand 30 FPS
It's
of games like that if you want to push the graphics like stupidly beyond something. But for shooters and general action games, action adventures, they need to be 60 FPS. Returnal, what was Returnal? Can you remember that game?
That was that weird planet one, with the female and the spaceship that crashes, and she's on that.
Oh, right,
Oh,
that's
it was
30
such an
FPS.
odd planet.
Yeah.
That's
Kena,
that's
Bridge of
like a
Spirits
top.
is 30 FPS.
Yeah.
Demon Souls is
No.
30 FPS.
Well, I think Keena's 30 because she's going to be on the PS4 as well.
Right. Okay.
Demon's Souls hopefully should
Yeah.
only be coming to PS5 in my opinion. 60 FPS standard for that type of game.
Because that's a remaster, isn't
Especially
it?
it's a no, it's a remake.
Oh, okay.
Um
That's
it's a
Sony's
remake.
way of just selling you a remaster, but
Yeah,
not telling you it's a
basically.
yeah, but calling it remake
Yeah.
so you don't realise.
But that type of game, you need that speed because
Yeah,
you need that really low input lag
yeah,
because
exactly.
those games are hard. If you don't have that input lag, I mean, if you have input lag, it's going to be the difference between you dying or beating
Yeah,
that boss. You know?
exactly. Yeah. Um, Destruction All Stars, which is a car game, that's 30 FPS.
I couldn't care less about that game's FPS,
Not at
in my
30
opinion. Not a game
FPS.
for me.
Yeah, a
But
racer at 30
that type of
FPS.
game needs to
Or a
be at
car game.
60.
Yeah, you're kidding me. I think even Mario Kart runs at 16.
Mm.
Horizon Forbidden West. The Horizon's going to be 30 FPS. It's
Yes, do you know
shocking.
why? Because they're pushing that Decima engine to the limit. Because it's all about, hey, it's shiny and bright and pretty, and all their fans go, this
Yeah.
game is amazing. It's the best looking game of the generation. And
And
then
this is
it's just like,
what's.
man,
Yeah.
why isn't not be? It's not the best looking game. Why isn't it? It's the best
Yeah.
playing game, which has got the best story. Why does it have to
Yeah.
be all about visuals?
And
Yes,
cutscenes.
visuals help
Yeah.
you buy in. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame Sony's ruining the narrative of gaming. They've moved from gaming and enjoyment to just games look good and just have excellent cutscenes. I think that's sort of upsetting, really, for me personally.
Yep.
Because they just Oddworld. What was Oddworld? Soulstorm. What was that? Can't remember. That's 30 FPS.
Yeah, what's that game I heard? There's one game that's being designed that is actually, and we haven't really seen much on it in anything. There's an old trailer on the internet, but there's a game, I think it's Witch something, I can't remember what it's called. The whole game is designed to have no cutscenes in it. And from what
Amazing.
you can tell, the game looks amazing,
Yeah.
and it looks so freaking hard.
Yeah.
Looks like you're gonna die a lot. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. But they're
No.
designing a game around no cutscenes. Everything's gonna
Exactly.
be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way games should be.
They've not got Spider-Man on the list, which is interesting. But considering Insomniac are hitting 30 FPS for Ratchet and Clank, I reckon the Spider-Man remaster. I mean, sorry, completely new entire AAA game, which some people believe, is going to
Expansion.
be expansion. Yeah, it's going to be 30 FPS. I reckon it's going to be 30 FPS. They've said they're using exactly the same mechanics and everything from the original PS4 Spider-Man, just
What
remastering it
engine
for
does?
PS5.
What engine do they use?
I don't know. It's a Sunset Overdrive engine. I don't know what it is.
I don't
What's
know.
it called?
I don't know.
No.
Because I reckon it's got to do with the fact that that game was originally designed for the PS4 and PS4
Yeah.
Pro. And
Yeah.
then Sony's like, hey, we don't really have any really amazing first party studio releases at launch.
Yeah.
Let's put this on and make it a day one
Yeah.
launch game.
I
And
reckon
that's why it's 30 FPS.
the original plan, I think Last of Us was going to be delayed to PS5, but once the leaks come out, it pushed them, so they had to release it early. So then what they did is delay the Spider-Man DLC and made that PS5 launch instead. I reckon that's what's happened. I reckon
I reckon a
originally,
lot of things have.
yeah, Sony have switched it up, whereas Xbox not had to do any of that because they bought loads of studios and they've already got their games lined up, already ready to go. They've even said nothing's holding their games back. They're all good. Thumbs up.
Well,
Whereas Sony are like,
with the Xbox, they have a lot to prove. About this July event, they have a lot to prove.
But the thing is to them,
Because
I think they were planning Xbox Series X midway through the generation. People say they gave up on Xbox One. I don't think they gave up on Xbox One. They were still doing stuff, releasing games and whatever. But I think they were just preparing themselves for the next generation way ahead, knowing
well,
that
Phil
it's going to.
said something
They've
about
got an
the
uphill
fact that
struggle.
they were planning the Series X before the One X had even launched.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they had
I can
started
imagine that.
planning
So
that in
yeah,
2016.
I can imagine. So I can imagine when Phil, because he just took it over from what's his face, who ruined the launch of the
John
Xbox One.
Matrick.
Yeah, I reckon first day one when he walked in, he said, "Right, next generation, I'm gonna knock it out of the park. I don't want to look like Don at the beginning of this generation. Next generation, I want to." So I reckon he just took the reins and said, "Right, let's get ready. Let's get next generation sorted."
Which, yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, Jim Ryan doesn't feel
Yeah.
like a gamer to me, and that's what I'm
No,
concerned.
he's not a
is
gamer.
that,
None of them are gamers.
um,
And everyone that speaks for Sony are not gamers. None of them. That's the difference. None of them are gamers. Where you go to everyone on Xbox, you see them play games. They're all gamers. That's the difference. That's why. That's why Sony fanboys hate them and don't
yeah,
understand
well,
why we like Phil, why we like Major and stuff like that. It's because they're gamers. They're all gamers. They all play games. Sometimes you get them join your games. They all play games. But there's nobody
they're
Sony
relatable.
that you can't relate to anyone at Sony. Nobody, especially Cerny. He was like a robot. It sounds like it was created by Sony.
Well, if his console doesn't do well right now, he can always start a new role as an ASMR.
yeah.
Did you see
Or
the just sidetrack? Did you see the
or a voice for your sat nav.
augmented reality shot of the PS5? Did you see the
No,
augmented reality shot of the PS5? It was
no.
actually quite interesting to see people's reactions. Because you could see, the white on the outside, the fins,
Yeah.
basically. They quite protrude quite far out. It looks quite open. The fact that it's going to be able to collect a lot of dust. Well, the SSD can help with the dust, I guess.
Yeah.
Since it's a magical SSD.
Run by unicorns. Unicorn dust.
But a lot of people were actually, because they showed it at a different angle, so you could see it in a different, like, you could actually see it better, and you could get an idea of how it was going to look and what type of size it was going to be. And a lot of people were like, second thoughts, I don't actually like this console as much as I thought I did. And I think that's going to be the key. People get this console home, they probably aren't going to like it as much as they say they are.
When they get a delivery van, drop the console off because it's massive.
Can I grab a trailer to bring my...
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's massive.
15
Did you see my video showing the comparison of all the consoles? It's almost twice the size of the Xbox Series X. It's massive.
15 inches.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, the only issue with that comparison, and I wish it was on there, was I wish they had the OG Xbox on there, because then you could get real good comparison, because that thing was a beast.
Yeah.
And I think the beast is even smaller than the PS5. Yeah, nah. I think a lot of people are going to have to convince themselves that they like it. Like, some people definitely like it, other people definitely don't. The people who are on the fence who are like, yes, I do like it, but I'm not 100% sure, when they get their console home.
I'm not too sure about the cooling. I think all that's rubbish as well. The whole cooling. They've not mentioned the cooling at all, and it's gone quiet on the cooling. And some people damage control are saying that it's going to have excellent cooling. That's why it's so big. What? That makes no sense.
I'm worried about the cooling, considering the way it's designed. If it's clearly designed to stand up, because it looks awful lying down.
Yeah.
When it's standing up, like that, the opening up of the vent, like the way that opens up,
Yeah.
that concerns me about the dust. Like, Xbox's console design, yes, it's got the air shooting up because that's the way, like, hot air rises, so it's blowing the dust out, but it also has that green card on the top to kind of stop dust falling in when the Xbox is not in use.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a smart design.
Yeah. Did you see one guy on my channel said, yeah, but what happens if someone pours water on the Xbox?
I don't know what happens
Did you see
if
that?
someone pours water on a PS5.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what was your point? He goes, well, someone could drop their drinks all over it, and it'd go in the vent at the top. I was thinking, go away. What do you want? This is ridiculous argument, that is.
That is because, like,
Oh, I know.
why would you be standing over a console with a drink?
Oh, no.
Because you'd be standing over someone's entertainment system, probably by their TV, gonna spill it on a whole heap of other things. Like, what happens with any type of electronic device that you pour water on?
It's a stupid, weak argument. Let me just quickly, before we end this subject, let me go on to there are some 60 FPS games for the PS5. I'll run through these quickly.
Yeah.
So we've got Gran Turismo 7.
And they're trying for a 120 frames mode, and they're thinking if they can get it up to 240 frames. So good on them. Good on them for trying. Polyphony Digital. I think kudos to them.
The only thing is Forza have now got the crown, and they've got to do something. If it just comes out as a general track racer that looks good, the graphics are amazing. I don't think it's going to cut the mustard against Forza that's already got a whole. They've done so much more to the game now. It's not just a racer. So I think it's just going to struggle.
The fact that the rumours for Forza, the next Forza Motorsports is going to be that they have the reason why they've taken so long is they are doing next gen, but they're also changing the game up a bit to add additional things in. So they're not wanting to just go with the standard formula that they've always done. They're wanting to evolve. Plus, so I don't know if GT has evolved.
Yeah. Plus, Forza's always had triple the amount of tracks and cars, and they removed microtransactions out of Forza. While in Gran Turismo, they added microtransactions and made it pay to win. You can actually buy cars in it. So I wonder if that happens.
Forza Motorsports doesn't have microtransactions. I say that because the amount of people who said it had microtransactions and still to this day think it does.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I think it has things you can buy, colours and things, isn't it? I think it might have something like that. You can buy paints, jobs and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't think it has. It does have pay to win. Yeah.
You can't use is it real money in it? I don't think you can use.
I don't think. Yeah. But they all claim it as. Right, so we've got Gran Turismo, we've got Sackboy, we've got Sackboy's going to 60 FPS. We'll all be happy about that. Godfall, 60 FPS. Astro Playroom, it's all the top games here are going to be 60 FPS. Astro Playroom and Resident Evil: The Village is probably 60 FPS. But I've also heard that's going to Xbox Series X. It's not on there. They don't know. So it's probably be 120 FPS.
Bugsnax 120 FPS.
Yeah. And what Digital Foundry said further down is these games running at 60 FPS were the resolution was 1500p.
Yeah.
Not 4K.
Hey, how about a positive note? Did you play the Grounded Flight demo?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't see that. I played the game at Thingy last year at XO, but.
They had a 30-minute demo available through the preview program, and then on the 28th of July, I think they're going to expand it out because I think that's going into like proper beta, or I don't know what they're doing specifically on the 28th, but it was actually really fun.
It's a good game, isn't it? It's getting so much hate. Yeah, it's good fun. It's a really good game, actually.
Immediately when you walk out of your little hole that you're in, I was like, oh, there's stuff to collect, and I love collecting things. So
exactly.
I was like, you know what? I spent like the whole demo just collecting things and building things. I was like, I don't do anything else. So then I
built a little house out of just leaves and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I was killing ants, and I was just like trying to, and I was like, this is really cool. So I went and replayed the demo again. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try doing the story aspect of it. But it's just, because you're so small, everything feels so massive.
Yeah.
And you get lost so easily in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
and you can explore ants.
That I was at before.
Did you explore any ant holes?
I went in and got attacked by termites, and they killed me, and I had to find my backpack.
Yeah. The game, I'm looking forward to the game. That's a game we can both definitely play and stream and mix up. It's going to be a really fun game. Play. Yeah. And make our own little village.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think people went into that game, when they initially saw it, and they're like, what is this? And now this demo is out.
Yeah.
The amount of positivity I've heard about this game, a lot of gamers are like, regardless of age, are like, actually, it's going to be a good game from what we can tell. And I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, you get Animal Crossing that gets higher ratings and stuff like that, so, by adults, so, you know what I mean? Who's to say what game, what is a child's game, what's an adult's game? Who's to say that these days? I mean, look at Nintendo.
This is an all ages game.
Yeah, it is an all ages game.
Phobia feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Should we move on to the final topic then?
Yes, and the final topic will be in glorious 60 FPS. I wish.
Yes. Right. Okay, and for our final topic, we move on to sales. We all love sales. So let's get. Do you want to get the ball rolling on the sales? What analysis is saying?
Cool. Yeah, analysis is saying that PlayStation by 2024 will have sold around 66 million consoles in comparison to Xbox's 37. So they're reckoning that next gen Sony is going to be clear winners, and that they're going to outsell Xbox consoles 2-1.
Right.
Thoughts on that, Elite? You have a lot to say, I know.
I do. Right, let's first start off with the ignorance of these so-called business people. Firstly, the consoles are sold at a loss. So selling twice as many consoles as your competitor isn't a fantastic deal when your console, especially if it's costing as much as Sony say themselves to make their console, and they're saying that if they're going to compete with Xbox, which is going to reap its losses back from subscriptions and stuff like that, and going multiplayer games, which Sony doesn't do. It's going to be losing about £100-200 per console sold. So if it sells twice as many consoles as Xbox X, it's going to be losing massive amounts of money. How you reap that money back is through software sales, and that's how companies make their money. Far more money is made from software sales than console sales. Unfortunately, Sony, because their fan base is dead against them doing so, won't have multiplats. They will have all their games exclusive. So, straight from the get-go, they've only got consoles as their market reach, just the consoles they've sold. So by the end of 2020, how much are you predicting PS5 would have sold?
End of 2020 was 4.4 million or 4.3 million.
So let's go. Let's just give it the benefit of doubt. Let's go 5 million. Say they've sold 5 million by the end of 2020. So now Sony games have a market reach of 5 million consoles. So that means they can potentially sell Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game, to 5 million people. However, on Xbox Series X, you may have sold half that amount of consoles. You may have sold only 2.5 million consoles, let's say. But because their games are cross-gen, they've also got 50 million Xbox Ones they can sell their games to. So from the get-go, they've already got 52.5 million consoles at launch to sell their games to. That's not even taking into account their games that are going to Switch, and their games that are multi-plats on PS4, and their games that are on PC. So to keep going further and say by 2024, PS4 would have sold now 60 million consoles, but Xbox would have had all their previous generation consoles to sell games onto, software onto, plus however X amount of Xbox Series X's they got to, plus the amount of plats on PS4, which is i.e. 60 million consoles. So the more consoles the more PS5s are sold, the more money Xbox will make for their multiplats on that system, plus PC, plus Switch. It's just such an irrelevant thing to state. Console sales is so irrelevant this day and age, when putting your software on more platforms makes you far more money. That's my rant over.
We agree. It's outdated. I mean, Phil came out and released early on, yes, no doubt, that they weren't winning this current gen. So they didn't want to announce console sales, understandably. But you can also see that the change in their mentality of what they do announce is more in line with their business strategy anyway, which is software and services, the Netflix of gaming, in other words. That's been used 1,000 times as an analogy, but it's accurate. I mean, we talked in a previous podcast about Game Pass, and we talked about Game Pass, the app, going to TVs with Samsung. It's not going to be about console sales anymore moving forward. It's going to be about software. It's going to be about those subscriptions. How many people are integrated into the Xbox ecosystem, whether you play on PC, whether you play on your phone, whether you use xCloud, because xCloud is going to be integrated into Game Pass Ultimate. That has been confirmed that this is happening. You're going to have Xbox Gold. You're going to have Game Pass for console, Game Pass for PC. You're also going to have xCloud. Like, that is one hell of a bargain
Yeah.
Those
They just
features
they've just done
alone are going to
a
sell
deal. Yeah,
themselves.
they've just partnered with Samsung, which is Sony's rivals in Japan. They've just partnered with Samsung now, so you're gonna get Game Pass on their phones and their TVs.
Yep.
So every
You
TV
don't.
you're gonna
You
be
don't
able to
even.
play. No, using your
You don't
XCloud.
even need to.
Yeah, own a
Yeah.
console.
You don't even need to upgrade to keep people
Yeah,
involved in that system, because they're planning on the fact that not everyone is going to move over in the first year.
no,
So that's why they are allowing people to play, like they're allowing devs to go, hey, if you put a game on, please make it available for both this gen and next gen. So when people eventually, after 2 years, decide that they want to transition over, they can, because by that stage they will have a need to, because no longer will games be made for the older gens, they'll be made for the new gens.
yeah,
And then you've got that whole library that they've got, all the backwards compat titles. They've got Game Pass that moves with them, so the moment they buy a new console, they have a game library. They don't have to do what they did at the beginning of this generation and spend $60 on a game, or in my case, $120 from where I am.
yeah,
Um, you don't have to just fork out. Because I remember when I started this gen, I still had my 360, so I would play my 360 games when I wasn't playing my Xbox One.
yeah,
But when we launched, it was so sparse in titles. I wish it was going to be like it was now. This new gen, you are, as an Xbox gamer, in that community, in that ecosystem, you have hundreds and hundreds of games to choose from, and you don't have to sit around and wait. You can immediately
yeah,
get rid of your old system because those games are going to go with you.
yeah,
If you get the disc version, you can use your discs in the new console. That's the purpose of it.
yeah.
You don't have to be held back by your old system any longer. You can immediately start fresh and go, I'm starting fresh on my console, but I don't have to start fresh on my games.
Yeah. Well, when I get the Xbox Series X, I'm going to buy one. One for me, and one for my son. So we're going to donate our Xbox Ones and Xbox X's to a local kids hospital.
Oh,
So
that's really nice of you.
yeah, so they can. Yeah, because you don't need them. We've crossed gen, so I'm not going to lose anything. So I'm just going to, pass the consoles on to them, and then I probably might buy them a year's subscription for Game Pass to go with it, so they can play games on them for free. So
Yeah, might as well.
yeah, exactly.
That's what's happening. I mean, it's no longer about console sales.
No,
Sony can have the console sales as far as I'm concerned, because Xbox is investing in more than just their console. Yes, both companies are going to probably take a loss on the systems, which is why console sales is not important. If they can retain you and get you spending money in their ecosystem and
yeah,
hold you there and keep you there, they've done what they were planning on doing. They're continuously earning money off you as a business
yeah,
if they can keep you in that subscription.
yeah.
It's
Look,
not about consoles anymore. And people
Disney
are
are doing
so
it.
short-sighted and so
Yeah,
focused on their console wars, they can't see the bigger picture.
Disney doing it. Netflix are doing it, as we know. Amazon's doing it. Apple's doing it. In fact, Google's doing it. All the biggest companies in the world are doing it. In fact, the FT reported last year that other than Microsoft being, I think, ranked second in the world businesses under the FT, Xbox is rated 87th in the world. They made history. They're the first ever gaming division to ever be rated in the top 100 FT as a business. PlayStation have never been in it, and they're still not in it. PlayStation not ranked in that top 100, nor Nintendo actually, nor a Sony. Sony as a company, I don't think it's even rated anymore in the top 100 businesses. And
Careful,
this,
you're going to incite those fanboys.
yeah, but this is basically
From
facts.
there.
You just Google up. You just Google this. This is actual facts, and this is because the FT is made up of loads of financial analysis and stuff that work out how much your company is making and how much it's worth overall. And that's what it's built on. And that's why they put Xbox far above PlayStation, because overall its money is just going to be streaming eventually with all its... They look at all the assets of the companies, and that's how they come up, analyse how much a company's worth. It's not how much money you got particularly in your wallet at that moment. And yeah, PlayStation's not even ranked, and Xbox is ranked 87th. Which they're ranked above Sony. Xbox division is ranked above Sony, the entire company. let alone PlayStation,
Yeah.
which is just which is incredible because Sony's leaking money all the time. They're losing money. PlayStation carries Sony. That's all they've got going from now. That's all they've got going from.
And I think so, because they've been very transparent in talking about their business and the fact that Phil went and spoke to Satya Nadella and said this is the plan we're going with, and he was more than happy to back it.
Yeah.
And I think that's because the business plan they've got is smart.
Yeah.
They've
Because he sold them on.
about this.
Yeah.
They know where the industry's going. They know where technology is going. People talk about how Sony's got their PSVR, and yes, they do. And I think that PlayStation has still got to announce the version 2 of their PSVR, hopefully. And that's going to be for the people who like VR. Not for me. Get motion sick quite easily. But where was I going with that?
Well, that's
Starting a rant
if
about
I was Phil, what you would have took to the table is you would have gone to Nutella, Nutella, that's what it's called, and you would have shown the profit made from software sales. That's what he would have simply went to. She would have said, we're not going to invest in Xbox. Probably at the beginning of the generation, we're not going to invest in Xbox. Its console sales are dwindling. It's just not doing well. I can imagine Phil come out and said, well, hold up, wait up. Software sales, and then he would have showed them the real profit of software sales, and he would have showed them things, example like mobile phone and gaming and things like that, how much money is made from software sales alone over console sales. I'll give you an example. I've done it on a video a while back. Red Dead Redemption made something like 50 million. Red Dead Redemption the game made more money from all PS4 consoles sold combined. So all the consoles PS4 sold, Red Dead Redemption, that one game made more money. That alone, that one game. So, if you just release a blockbuster, but if you release a game like that, you've already covered the loss of your consoles. So what's the console sales mean nothing. So you just sell, and the reason for that is that Red Dead 2 isn't exclusive. It's a multiplayer. If it God of War could have made them that much money, but it's exclusive, so it doesn't make that much money from. The Last of Us could have made them that money, Uncharted could have made them that much money, Spider-Man could have made them that much money, but because they hold it back to exclusive, it's nowhere in the reach of Red Dead Redemption profit. That's a Sony thing. Until they wake up and start putting their games on PC and other formats, or make some of their games multiplayer, they're just not going to be able to compete with Xbox, I'm afraid, financially, I'm afraid.
Well, it's key about wording. I think Jim Ryan was saying it's all about, like, we give people options. Huh.
Yeah.
They only started recently giving options, haven't they?
It's false upgrading.
They're being smart about their wording, because I think they are trying their very best to not isolate their fan base, because they have a very, very toxic portion of their fan base who will just drop them because they are putting games on PC.
Yeah, which is pathetic.
And it's sad, like, the fact that they are so selfish that they don't want their company to make more money and invest games into that ecosystem, like invest in games, to hold it back from other people who would enjoy it as well. Like,
and would give the company money.
Yeah, give them money. Make better games with it.
Make better systems. Make, not the system you've got now, but you'd have a computer that can actually, a console that can actually rival or compete with Xbox Series X. Reason why they can't is because their budget. Basically, they've got the budget. Like Xbox Series
I don't
X
think
has.
they were prepared. I think twice now Xbox has done the Houdini on them, and they said so they weren't prepared for the One X. I don't think they realised Xbox was going to go with 6 teraflops.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were prepared for Xbox to go 12 teraflops. And I think that once they realised that, they needed to pull it back and overclocking. I mean, I sent you that great meme, which was Total Recall, the original Total Recall, with at 9.2 in the chair, sitting pretty okay. Then it goes to boost mode, and he starts like going nuts. And then at 10.28 teraflops, his face is like falling to bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in line with that. They haven't been smart about it, and for people to go, they're going to sell more consoles. I think they're going to sell more consoles probably because their console is going to have more problems.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have more problems. That's my opinion, because it's so bespoke.
Yeah. They've gone on. I've just reading further down. They said, I tend to agree that the PS5 will outsell the Xbox Series X. Yes, it will, because it's a false upgrade. To, as I give an example, to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is DLC, which we all know, you have to spend £500 on a brand new console just to play that game. And what else will you get with that? You'll get Godfall and Bugsnax. It's a false upgrade. Those games should be cross-gen. I'm sorry. False upgrade. You shouldn't have to buy a brand new console to play that weak lineup. That's just bad. And people are going, yeah,
Well,
but
Godfall's
Godfall's
Games
going to be
Store. Godfall's going to PC anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Godfall's not a true exclusive. Most of the games are not true exclusives.
There is no reason to own a PS5 at launch, really, at the moment.
There's gone are the true exclusives.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think PlayStation fans realise that. Everything will either be on PlayStation or PC. Yes, games will be specifically kept on Xbox, because PlayStation does not want you buying an Xbox. They want you to buy either PlayStation or a PC.
Yeah, but
Same with Xbox. They aren't going to put their games on that system other than Mojang for like Minecraft, because
it makes too much money
to not put it on.
Yeah, that game
probably
gets
something in their agreement that
90,000 players a month. Yeah, that game's massive. They also said there is what could throw a spanner in the works, a wild card, is the Microsoft's Project Lockhart, which could release at the same time as Series X, which could massively undercut the PS5 in price. So if that drops, so if it releases a Lockhart and an Xbox Series X and Lockharts, I reckon it won't be that much. People saying it's only going to be a 4 terabyte machine. I don't reckon. I reckon it's going to be more powerful than the Xbox X. I reckon it could be about 8. I reckon it could be about 8 teraflops, just slightly less than the PS5.
Or even at 4 teraflops, it's more powerful than the One X anyway, because 6 teraflops is based on GCN architecture. This one is new next gen.
Yeah.
So 4 teraflops in next gen is the equivalent of 6 teraflops last gen. So I think regardless of the and which is why they're saying that teraflops, you can't measure on teraflops this gen, because the efficiency on the teraflops this gen are a lot better than the teraflops last gen or current gen. But I think that's going to be the system that gets people, like, even if you don't go out and buy a Xbox Series X, you may go buy a PS5, but you want an Xbox.
Yeah.
That's what's going to be the people who go out and buy that. Or say you've got a Series X, but the other person in your household also wants to play Xbox, but they don't care about the pretty graphics. Yeah. Cheap enough just to get another one if you want to buy multiple consoles for your household. Easy enough to let that happen.
Yeah.
I think that's going to sell a lot of consoles.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's going to be an inch. I can't wait till the 17th of July, basically. Looking forward to that.
So am I.
Right,
I don't know what to expect. I have ideas, but I don't know what to expect, so I'm excited.
I think we'll do that in a show nearer the time, the podcast nearer the time.
Yes,
give our opinions just before it. Right, I think we'll close off the podcast now. Got anything more to say?
No, I think we had a pretty good discussion tonight.
Yeah, pretty good waffle. It's also about 1 a.m. now for you, is it? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, alright. Well, until next time, thank you all for watching. Please look up Bread Dead Pandas on YouTube channel and Twitter. Give her a sub, share and a like. She's doing some brilliant content. She's a fantastic lady, new into the scene, not new to gaming, of course. Thank you all for watching. Please sub and share, and goodbye for now.
Hit that notification button if you want to be
notified
on more content, guys.
Yeah, because that stuff's the best out there. The best.
It's just honest. That's all I can say.
Honest. Bye.
Bye.